Now that we've covered the basics, it is time to practice the application of our skill in the context of a creative challenge in industrial design. And it is precisely this creative application that separates this class from an ordinary drawing class. Instead of drawing objects from existing examples, we need to be able to draw from our imagination. And most of the time, these ideas that are floating around in our heads are not fully formed yet. They're just rough preliminary ideas that represent an opportunity to create value and provide us with a general direction for further exploration. A great example of this is the invention of the light bulb, for which Thomas Edison filed a patent in the year 1880. Now, we commonly associate the light bulb with having a eureka moment, a sudden flash of inspiration producing a brilliant idea. Yet the irony is that it took Edison and his team nearly 3 years and a series of roughly 2,000 experiments to figure out how to make it work. Not exactly the best example of a light bulb moment. In fact, Edison himself once said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." In other words, he was saying that while having a clever idea is important, it's the hard work, the relentless experimentation and trial and error that separate true success from mere potential. I believe that for industrial design, sketching is often the most efficient and effective way of experimenting with our ideas. The moment we make a sketch, we start to see the idea that was previously only living in our heads emerge in front of us. And by seeing the idea surface, we start to reflect on it. We are basically testing that idea to see if it works or if it doesn't. And if it doesn't, we can use that same sketch to figure out what's wrong, what's missing, or what needs to be adjusted. The moment we see our own sketch, we gain insight and we learn something. And in my experience, this always leads to the next thought. What if I try this? Or what will happen if I try that? And then I make a new sketch, and another one, and so on. And in doing so, I enter an iterative loop of thinking, where one idea leads to the next, a flow of creative thought. But the thinking in this state of mind is not just an activity of the brain. I believe that when we sketch, we also start thinking with our hands. Remember what I said about that? To sketch well is to think clearly. So the question is, how do we sketch well? John Cleese, who has written a lot about creativity, speaks about an open mode for playful experimentation and a closed mode to implement our solutions. And I believe these two mindsets fully apply to the creative process of industrial design. To better express their purpose for sketching, I refer to them as the exploratory mindset and the communicative mindset. The purpose of a sketch in the communicative mindset is to clearly convey the value of your design solution, and we will cover this in the next module. The purpose of a sketch in the exploratory mindset is primarily to learn something. In this mindset, we will use our sketching skill to experiment, to investigate, and to develop our ideas and concepts. To sketch well in the exploratory mindset, you will need to develop some exploratory habits. The following exercises are intended to help you familiarize yourself with the underlying principles and practice them repeatedly to form your own habits.